Hey, what is going on, everybody? I'm so glad that you're here today. Today, we are going to talk about what was the number one gear choice and purchase that I made that really enabled me to take my productions, my mixing, my mastering, everything to the next level. So check out this video and learn something today. Here we go. So when it comes to producing, mixing, mastering, I get questions all the time about, what type of gear should I buy? What's the basics that you need? As long as you have a computer that has enough processing power to enable you to host multiple different plugins, obviously run your format, whether that's Pro Tools, Logic, whatever it may be. I mean, you have to have a great computer to begin with, right? That's the foundation. We all work on computers. And after a computer though, what really matters the most? What is really gonna get you the biggest bang for your buck? What should you really concentrate on spending your money on? For example, if you already have your computer, you have an interface, you have a pair of studio monitors, they may not be the best. Maybe you got a preamp or something. Like, really, what do you need next? What is going to take your mixing game, your mastering game, and your music production game to the next level at that point? Here it is, the number one thing, and I cannot stress this enough, is to get super flat studio response monitors. Get speakers, studio monitors that have a super flat response, as flat as you can possibly get. Now, I know that there's gonna be people in the comments that are gonna say, but flat studio monitors don't sound good and I can't vibe with them. All right, let me, address this. A flat studio monitor is not meant for you to enjoy it. It is meant for you to hear exactly what your music is sounding like and what the frequencies are, so that you can make accurate decisions. And over time, as you get accustomed to them and used to them, you produce much better. You'll mix better, you'll master your songs better, everything. As you can see here behind me, I have the Yamaha HS8s, which for me at the time, that was the best studio monitor within my price range upgrade that I could get, that had the flattest response possible that I had researched, among all the other different pairs. Now I'm definitely looking to upgrade to even better set of monitors that are, even more flat. Also, have multiple different speakers and multiple different drivers that handle certain frequency ranges by themselves. So the whole studio setup, the whole monitor will actually, be much more efficient. And I'll be able to pick apart the frequencies even better with a, more expensive studio monitor. But I can't stress enough to people like how my whole just producing, mixing, mastering, everything just changed within maybe a course of like a month, just like completely, once I started to really hear my music correctly. Now, yes, it is true, your room, your setting that you have your studio monitors in will play a role. Generally, you don't want to mix in too big of a room, and you don't want it to be too small. So, I mean, for example, you don't want like a super small, tight bedroom with no air, no space. You don't want like to be in like a gymnasium or something like that, or like, a big room. You want to be in a controlled environment, something that you set up and control. As you see here, this is my room. I have acoustic treatment on the walls, etc. Like the sound is very tight, but it's not tight to the point where it can't breathe, if you understand that. A lot of like major studios that you walk into, they'll have wood on the floor. They'll usually have higher ceilings, and they'll have soundproofing on the side. And I mean, the wood on the floor is great because it allows for some, vibrations and movement of sound off of the floor so that the room isn't completely dead. You need life in your room, but there's enough soundproofing on the sides to, make sure that the room is tight. You just want a tight sound, but overall, this whole topic in this video is not about your room, it's about your speakers. So I would say for sure, if you're mixing on KRK Rockets or something like that, I love Rockets, right? I like producing on them, making beats on them. Great for that, you know what I mean? But they're not the best when it comes to mixing. In my opinion, everyone else could have their own opinion, but in my opinion, they do not accurately produce the flattest frequency response and tell you just specifically what you're hearing and what you should be listening to. My Yamahas, I wouldn't necessarily say I love the sound of them and I would just want to sit here and listen to them for hours. They're not like enjoyable studio monitors in that way where you just want to sit here and just enjoy them and just enjoy the sound and just dance and just whatever. No, they're very critical, monitoring studio monitors. These are built off of the the NS10, inspired by NS10, which the NS10, nobody, just loves to just switch on music and listen to NS10 monitors. Like, they're just very mid-range. They don't really have much bass. The highs kind of roll off a little bit. Like, they're just harsh, you know what I mean? In a way. Brittle, if you want to call it that. But they do tell you exactly what is going on in your mid-range, and that is the point I'm trying to say here. So what I'm really trying to say is you cannot really make the greatest leap forward in becoming a better mixing engineer, for example, if you are not hearing your sonics accurately. Simply because whatever mix decisions that you decide to do are not going to be accurate, they're not going to translate. You're not going to be able to take your mixes into your car or somewhere else and they're going to sound similar or exactly like, the mix in your studio. Well, no mix is ever going to sound, in any other situation exactly like it does in the studio, but you get my point. Like, get better monitors, I would say like these are very cheap, you know what I mean? And at the time, I was not looking to spend, $1,000 or even above $1,000 for studio monitors, but I wanted something really flat. These are very flat. Now where the price difference changes when you get into like the $1,000 range, 750 with kind of like the Atom monitors and just kind of like going up into that range. The real biggest difference that I noticed between those monitors is that now you're getting into like more three-dimensionality of your sound. The stereo imaging of the sound is a lot more accurate. So if you understand what stereo imaging is, you're gonna be able to identify sounds, the depth of field in your sound more. Like, you're gonna hear sounds that are deeper, and you're gonna feel them and hear them back here a lot more clearly, and sounds that are up here and etc. I would say that's the biggest difference. But if you need a flat frequency response studio monitor, I would recommend these any day. I mean, you have to get used to them like any pair of monitors, obviously. But for the price point, I don't know if you really can find a better option that are this flat. And I mean, I have them to this day because I've learned them and because they just do what I need them to do every time I mix on them or master on them, because I know them so well and they're flat. That's the key. I'm able to, pump out great mixes and great masters for my clients. Now, can you learn a studio monitor that is less flat? Yes, you can, but guess what? It's probably gonna take you longer. It's probably going to take you longer to really learn that studio monitor and actually get good at it so that those mixes actually can translate to the real world. When you're working with a flat frequency response monitor, something that's fairly flat. The learning curve for it is, reduced greatly because you're getting so much more accuracy out of the studio monitors already. You know what I mean? You don't have to like compensate when you're dealing with like lower studio paired monitors or whatever, studio pair monitors that aren't necessarily fit for mixing or mastering, etc. Like when you're dealing with, those type of studio monitors, you have to spend a lot more time learning those monitors because the curve is just, it's kind of like all over the place. It's not really that flat, so just take that into consideration. Like, even if you're just a beat producer, like I can't even tell you, I do all levels, I do instrumental, so beat production, music production, so creating the music, mixing, mastering, everything. But I can't even tell you or begin to tell you how much that improved my beats as well, because I'm hearing the frequencies accurately. Like I can understand why the sample that I chose 2 years ago on like a beat that I did was not nearly as great as the samples that I'm choosing now, is because I'm actually hearing how these certain sonics of these different samples, whether that's a kick, snare, a sound of a guitar, whatever, like I'm really hearing the fine details of how those kind of samples fit within my, within the beats that I'm making. So number one piece of advice, like if you had to get another piece of studio gear, or not even if you had to, but even if you do have like a set of studio monitors that just aren't that great and you're still not getting great mixes, number one upgrade, get some, a better pair of studio monitors. At least these Yamahas back here will do, that have a flat frequency response. You need flat frequency responses. Now, I know some people have also tried, using like Sonar Works tools, tools that like you can set a microphone out in your room and it will calibrate the monitors. I haven't actually used it, but it will calibrate the monitors and how you're hearing any kind of studio, monitor that you have, so that it becomes more flat. I guess that definitely can work for some people. Honestly, I haven't used it, so I may not be the best person to speak on the subject, but I know that once you have a fairly treated dead room and you have flat frequency response, in your monitors, pretty flat, the learning curve to learn the sound of your monitors and to start getting good mixes, goes down drastically. Like, you just start hearing things so much more accurately. There is still gonna be a slight learning curve, don't get me wrong, but it's just not as great, it's not as hard. So yes, get new studio monitors. It's not necessary, especially if you're at your home setting, to get a bunch of different analog gear. Nowadays, so much of everything that we ever use is within plugins, whether that's compressors, EQs, saturation, a nice preamp, is good. But really, honestly, like I have one preamp. I can use one preamp and achieve so many different sounds by how I affect it inside of my DAW. That just enables me to be like, hey man, I can just work with one preamp and get some really amazing sounds. If you really got the money, go for it. Have some more toys, that's cool and all. But this is mainly for the person who just has a computer, some studio monitors, their interface, simple stuff, maybe a keyboard, but in general, they're just looking to become a better producer or better at mixing or better at mastering. You need a flat frequency response. You need flat studio monitors, period. That has changed the game for me and how I hear my music. I would say, to add on top of this, you also need at least 2 pairs of monitors. I would say to accurately, I wouldn't say to accurately, but to make sure, to verify that what you're doing in your mixes is correct. So if you want to lower the learning curve of actually generating great mixes, again, make sure you have 2 or more studio monitors. 2 is great, 3 is even better, but ideally, even if I had 3, which I kind of do, I still only mainly use 1 pair of monitors as my main one, but then you have another one just to check it on, maybe fine tune a couple things, and then you go back to your main pair of monitors. And your main pair of monitors are the ones with the flat frequency response. Key. Also, when it comes to like headphone mixing, a lot of people ask me about that. Headphones are great. Headphones are awesome. I love headphones. When it comes to mixing though, like personally, I like to feel the music. I like to feel the air as it hits your chest, and you know, it's a you know, the speakers are pushing out air, so you want to feel that air as it hits your chest, and just feel the vibrations. And like, there's a certain sense of like feeling that you miss in headphones, because headphones are just on your ear. You're just, you know, you're only kind of hearing, but you don't necessarily feel it. Whereas speakers, you hear and feel the music, you know, because those sound waves are literally like passing through your body, you know. So I've become so accustomed to music that I really am in tune with like how I'm feeling it as well as how I'm hearing it. So 80 to 90% of the time I'm mixing and mastering my music just on the speakers alone. Sometimes I won't even check the headphones, but it is good to check headphones. You know, I think of like mixing and mastering on headphones is like a microscope. So the headphone is like a microscope, right? And then your speakers is like just like the bigger picture. So when I get to the microscopic level, like for example, if I'm mixing a vocal or something and I really want to like pinpoint like certain frequencies that are really harsh and standing out, and I want to cut those out, I'll throw on some headphones and I will pinpoint those specific frequencies by listening with the headphones. The headphones is like the microscope. You can just really zoom in, they're really tight to your ear. You can just really zoom in and listen and hear those specific frequencies and duck them out. Stuff like that. I like to listen to the vocal balance on headphones, because we all listen to music on headphones. So as long as the vocals feel balanced on headphones, like the level of them is correct with the music. It's not too loud, it's not too quiet. You can always hear the words. That lets you know you're in a good point as well. But I do find it difficult to mix kick and you know, your kick drums, your bass, even snares. You know, getting like the dynamic range right in your mixes can be very tricky and difficult with headphones. So I would definitely do 80 to 90% of all mixing on your studio speakers. So to recap, I want you guys to go on a challenge. Like, just challenge yourself. Buy these studio monitors if you can. They're not that expensive, and they're super flat, and I'm highly recommending them. I've been working with them for years, and I still haven't got rid of them. Even when I can, you know, I can get rid of them now, but I still haven't got rid of them, just because I'm used to them and they do exactly what I need. That's the key. You really want to find gear. You want to buy gear and find gear that when you find it and you buy it and you're starting to use it, it's doing exactly what you need and you're done. You don't need to, you know, you don't want to constantly keep having to buy different gear and try different things. Like, you want to buy pieces of gear that you know, and when you know it really well and it constantly produces great results for you that you're looking for, then you just become better internally as a mixing engineer, mastering engineer, or a producer. You just become better internally at your craft, knowing that you have complete confidence in the gear that you have, and what it can do for you and how accurately it can reproduce what you're trying to reproduce. Whew. So, gear questions, like for most of you guys, please just go get an accurate set of studio monitors. I mean, you can learn all the tips and tricks that you want on YouTube. I'm not bashing that. you're still learning at the same time. But to really see the results, like to really see your mixes and your results just take off, just skyrocket, like go get some studio monitors that are flat. If that is the number, if you had to put your budget anywhere in terms of your studio, put it there, okay? And then treat your room after that. It's like, just get some stuff and treat your room, but make sure you're hearing what you're hearing correctly. We all have to hear music to be able to work on it. Hearing the music is probably the most important thing. You gotta hear your sound correctly. A doctor cannot operate correctly if he cannot see what he needs to see correctly, right? He has the skills and the knowledge to operate on a person theoretically, right? He knows theoretically in his mind like what he needs to do, etc. But he can't make the most accurate decisions and do what he needs to do if he can't accurately read the reports that are coming from whatever, I don't know, machines or whatever type of things that he's using to scan the person that he's working with. Like we're like doctors, we need to make accurate decisions and fix things, right? So with that being said, I'm done ranting about this, but all you guys go grab a pair of studio monitors, flat frequency response of studio monitors. Please go grab them, all right? Thank you guys for tuning in. I'll always be here joining into this whole circle of producers and mixing mastering engineers, this whole community, just giving my 2 cents. If you like this video, please thumbs up, subscribe to my channel. Everyone says these basic same things, but if you do find value, and I'm gonna continue posting more of this type of stuff, do those 2 things, and then you'll see my videos pop up more often. On top of this, I have a production guide that you can download for free on my website via the link below in my description. If you want to know the 10 most important things that every producer, songwriter, mixing engineer, mastering engineer, anyone who creates music, the 10 most important things that need to be done before getting to the mixing stage, because we all know the mixing stage is super important. These are the 10 most important things that everyone needs to do before the mixing stage to get the best mix possible. If you want to know those things, click the guide in the link below. I'll see you guys later. Take care. Peace.